If we're being honest, the reason you're listening to this specific topic might be because things aren't going exactly to plan right now.
It's the reset conversation.
It is, and we need to have it because
Yeah.
today we are tackling a universal experience. It's that moment when the wheels come off.
Mm-hmm.
You know the feeling, right?
Yeah.
You have the perfect routine dialed in. You're hitting the gym 4 days a week. Your inbox is at zero. You're writing every morning. Or your business strategy is just humming.
You feel like you finally got it together.
Exactly. You feel like a competent adult. And then a random Tuesday happens.
It is always a random Tuesday.
It's never a dramatic movie moment. The cold. It's a work trip that runs late. It's a sudden bout of grease. Or, let's be real, sometimes it's just waking up and realizing you don't care that day.
And you spend 3 hours doom scrolling instead of working. We've all been there.
And just like that, you fall off the wagon.
Right. The universal interruption.
The interruption isn't the issue, though. We all get interrupted. The real issue is the spiral that comes next.
The shame spiral.
Yes. So today, we're doing a deep dive into a stack of research titled Research on Getting Back on Track. But I have to say, reading through this, the mission is different than I expected.
Oh, yeah. How so? Usually these topics are pretty straightforward.
Well, usually when you look for advice on getting back on track, you just get hit with hustle culture.
Oh, for sure. Grind harder, no days off.
Make up for lost time. It's all very aggressive. But this source material is arguing for the exact opposite. It suggests that hustling your way back is actually the least effective strategy.
That's interesting. So it's not about brute force.
Not at all. It's looking at the science and the strategy of the return.
That is a critical distinction. What we're looking at today isn't motivational fluff. We have 4 massive case studies here. We're talking about an Olympian, an NFL quarterback, the CEO of a coffee giant, and a tech executive in a liquidity crisis.
A heavy-hitting lineup.
It is. And if we look closely, they provide a blueprint for how to handle that moment when everything falls apart. And, none of them used hustle to fix it.
It's Simone Biles, Alex Smith, Howard Schultz of Starbucks, and Anne Mulcahy of Xerox. But before we get into the stories, I want to unpack the core problem the research identifies. Why is it so psychologically difficult to just start again?
Yeah.
I mean, logically, if I miss a workout, I should just go the next day. But I don't. I quit for a month. Why does that happen?
It comes down to what the research calls the identity spiral.
The identity spiral. Okay, that sounds ominous. Break that down for me.
So when we miss a routine, say you miss 3 workouts in a row, our brains don't just register a missed task. We don't evaluate it as a data point like observation, I missed a task.
No, it feels much more personal than that.
It's deeply personal. We see it as a character flaw. We internalize it. We say, I am not disciplined, or I am a lazy person.
Oh, 100%. It's the, I ruined the week, so I might as well wait until Monday. Logic.
Exactly. It's the all or nothing trap. And it stems from the ego. We tie the routine to our self-worth. If the routine is broken, we feel broken.
So what's the alternative?
The thesis of this deep dive is fascinating. The goal isn't to never fall off. That is impossible. Entropy exists. The goal is to master the skill of re-entry.
Re-entry. I like that word. It implies a specific maneuver, like a spaceship coming back into the atmosphere.
It is tactical. And that's a perfect analogy. If a spaceship comes in at the wrong angle, it burns up.
Right. Too steep.
If it comes in too shallow, it bounces off into space. You have to hit the angle perfectly. That is what we are talking about today. How do you stick the landing when you've been floating in space?
To understand that, we have to start with one of the most high-profile aborted landings in sports history.
We have to.
We have to go to Tokyo, July 2021. Simone Biles.
The Tokyo Olympics. The pressure was unbelievable.
Let's set the scene here because I think people remember the headlines, the controversy, but maybe they forgot the visceral details of the moment. It's the women's team final. Simone Biles is the face of the games. She is the G8.
All eyes are on her.
All eyes. She's running down the vault runway. This is a move she has rehearsed thousands and thousands of times.
And this is where the twisties come in.
Right. And I want to pause here because the source material spends some time explaining this. I think a lot of people just thought she got nervous, how she choked. But the twisties isn't just nerves.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Can you explain the actual mechanism of what was happening to her?
It's terrifying. It's a neurological phenomenon known to gymnasts and divers where midair, your proprioception, your spatial awareness, it just evaporates.
You literally get lost in the air.
You lose your internal map. You don't know where the ground is. You don't know which way is up.
It's like a pilot flying into a cloud bank and losing the horizon line.
Exactly. But you're doing it while spinning twice your body weight through the air. It's not just inconvenient, it is physically dangerous. If you don't know where the ground is, you can land on your neck. You can be paralyzed.
So she launches into the air. The source says she planned a 2.5 twist, the Aminar. But she gets lost.
You can see it on the replay. She opens up early.
She only does a 1.5 twist. She lands, and it's a mess. She looks completely disoriented, and then she does something that shocked the world.
She walks off the floor.
She withdraws. And remember, she didn't withdraw because she broke a bone. She withdrew because her mind and body stopped coordinating.
Her software crashed.
And the public reaction was loud.
Incredibly loud. You had these split camps, one side screaming that she's a quitter, she abandoned her team, she's weak.
And the other side calling her a hero for prioritizing mental health.
But if we look at the source material, the lesson here isn't really about the public debate. We aren't here to debate the ethics of quitting. We're here to look at the strategy of her return.
Because she did come back. That's the part people forget. She didn't just fly home and hide.
No, she didn't. She stayed in the gym. She worked. And this brings us to the first major principle of the comeback. Re-entry beats restart.
Okay, unpack that difference for us. Because restart and re-entry sound like synonyms. What's the distinction?
A restart is what most of us try to do when we fail. A restart implies you are going back to zero. You are wiping the slate clean and trying to build the whole tower again from the ground up.
It's a fantasy.
It's a rejection of reality. It's saying, I'm going to pretend this failure didn't happen and just try to be perfect again.
So if Biles had tried to restart, what would that have looked like?
She would have gone back out the next day and tried to throw the 2.5 twist again. She would have tried to force her way back to being the old Simone immediately.
And given her neurological state, she probably would have hurt herself.
Almost certainly. Re-entry is different. Re-entry asks, what is the version of this routine that is available to me right now?
Not yesterday, not tomorrow, today.
Exactly. Is dealing with the reality of the present moment.
So Biles takes a week off competition. She watches her teammates. She practices, but carefully. And on August 3rd, she returns for the balance beam final. But she changes the routine, right?
She does, and this is the genius of it. She didn't try to go back to being the old Simone who does the hardest skills in the world. She modified the routine.
How so?
She removed the twisting elements that were causing the neurological block. She simplified the dismount. She competed as she was that day.
And she won bronze, a 14,000 score.
And the source argues that the bronze medal was, in many ways, a more impressive athletic achievement than her golds.
How can that be?
Because the gold medals were her performing at her peak. The bronze was her performing while navigating a crisis.
That is such a huge takeaway for anyone listening. Your routine is a tool, not proof of your worth. That's a line from the text.
I love that line.
When the tool breaks, you don't throw away your life, you adjust the tool.
Exactly. You modify the expectation.
So practically speaking, let's bring this down to the learner listening right now. They aren't doing a double pike fault. Maybe they just stopped writing their novel, or they stopped running. The source suggests this tactic called the safe minimum.
The safe minimum, yeah.
I love this idea, but I want to challenge it a bit.
Go ahead.
The safe minimum is basically asking, what is the version of this habit that is so small I can't say no to it?
Yeah.
So if my norm is a 45-minute intense workout.
The safe minimum might be 8 minutes.
Right. Just putting on your shoes and walking around the block. But isn't that pathetic? I mean, if I'm used to running 5K and I go out and walk for 10 minutes, my ego is screaming at me.
Of course it is.
This doesn't count. You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
How do you get past that voice?
That voice is the identity spiral talking. That is the ego trying to sabotage you. The ego wants the glory of the 5K. But your neurology needs the pattern of the 10-minute walk.
So we're hacking the brain here.
We are. When you use a safe minimum, say, writing 50 words instead of 1,000, you are effectively removing the twist. You are reducing complexity to a level where you can't fail.
So it's not about the output at that point.
No, you aren't training for fitness or productivity in that moment. You are training for consistency. You are repairing the neural pathway.
It's about reestablishing trust with yourself.
Precisely. If you say you're going to do something and you do it, even if it's small, you rebuild self-trust. If you say, I'm going to run 5K and you don't do it because it's too hard, you erode self-trust.
The source also mentions making the comeback private. Don't announce it. Just perform less and practice more.
That's a tough one in the age of social media. We want the validation of the day one post.
Oh, absolutely. The big declaration.
But Biles practiced in a gym away from the cameras. Public accountability creates pressure. Pressure creates twisties. When you are in re-entry, you want low pressure. You want a safe environment.
So step one of the comeback. Kill the ego, lower the bar, and find your safe minimum. That covers the mental side. But what about when the fall is physical? What about when you literally cannot do what you used to do because you are broken?
This brings us to our second case study, Alex Smith.
Oh man, this story, even if you're not a football fan, looking at the details in this file, it is harrowing.
It is hard to read. It's almost unbelievable.
November 2018, Washington versus Texans. Alex Smith, NFL quarterback, takes a sack. It looks like a normal hit, but then you see the leg, it ripples.
A compound fracture, tibia and fibula, both bones just shattered.
And the injury itself was bad, but what came after was a nightmare. The source details 17 surgeries. He got a flesh-eating bacterial infection.
Necrotizing fasciitis.
Doctors were discussing amputation just to save his life.
Right. He went from being an elite athlete to a man fighting for his life in a hospital bed in a matter of days.
And the source material points out something interesting here about our perception of recovery. It says that in movies, recovery is a montage.
Yes, the Rocky montage effect.
Exactly. Some inspirational music, Rocky running up the stairs, a few shots of lifting weights, and boom, he's back.
But the reality for Alex Smith was boring and relentless. He wasn't training for the Super Bowl. He was relearning how to stand up. He had an external fixator, a metal cage bolted into his bones.
Yet, in 2020, he returns to the NFL and is named Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. But let's talk about the strategy here, because it wasn't a miracle, it was a method.
That's right. The source calls this base-first reentry.
Base-first reentry, okay.
Yes, and this directly addresses what we call the ego trap of past performance.
How does that work?
Well, imagine you used to run 10 miles a week, you get injured, or you just stop for a year. Your ego still remembers you as a 10-mile runner. That is your identity.
I used to be able to do this easily, that voice in your head.
Exactly. So when you try to come back, you try to jump straight back to that peak. You try to run 5 miles on day one because 10 miles is who I am.
And then you get hurt. Or you get incredibly sore. Or you just hate it because it's so hard.
And you quit. Alex Smith couldn't do that. His old normal, being an NFL quarterback, was irrelevant. It was physically impossible.
He had to accept his new reality.
He had to accept that he wasn't a quarterback in that moment. He was a guy trying to walk to the bathroom.
So the principle is, don't rebuild the peak, rebuild the base.
It sounds obvious, but it requires that same humility we talked about with Biles. It means doing things that feel too easy.
The source suggests creating a base menu. I really like this for a practical takeaway. Can you explain how that works?
A base menu is a list of 1 or 2 tiny daily actions that are non-negotiable. For Smith, it was simple physical therapy movements. For us, it might be a 10-minute walk.
Or drinking a glass of water first thing, making the bed.
Things that don't require motivation, just action. And there's this 2-day rule mentioned, which is the golden rule of habit maintenance.
I've heard this before. What's the significance?
The rule is never miss 2 days in a row.
Okay, but why is 2 the magic number?
Because 1 miss is life. A random Tuesday happens. You get sick, you have a bad day, that's an outlier. But 2 misses.
That's a new habit forming.
That is the start of a new pattern. That is a vote for a new identity. If you miss 1 day, the only goal for the next day is to not miss again. It doesn't have to be a good workout, it just has to happen.
I also want to touch on the idea of downshifting the environment. The source mentions this in relation to Smith's rehab.
Yes, this is so important. When you are rebuilding the base, you are fragile, you don't have a lot of willpower, so you need to make the base behavior as easy as possible.
You remove the friction.
You lower the activation energy. If you want to run, you put your shoes physically in front of the door where you will trip over them.
You make the right choice, the easy choice.
You do. And for the first 7 days, the metric is just completion, not quality.
Just a checkbox.
Right. Did you do it?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Don't worry about your mile time. Don't worry about how good the writing is. Just check the box. You are pouring the concrete for the foundation. You can build the skyscraper later.
It's like Alex Smith saying his initial goal wasn't glory. It was just being a father and a husband who could walk. He focused on function first.
And that's what allowed him to eventually reach the peak again. But he had to build the base first.
Okay, so we've covered the mental adjustment with Biles and the physical base building with Smith. But those are explosive events.
Right, they're traumas.
A twisty,
Yeah.
a broken leg. Those are obvious moments of falling off. But what about when the problem isn't a sudden injury? What about when it's just the slow fade?
The drift.
The drift, that's the word. This is where most of us live, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
You're doing the work, but the quality's slipping. You're cutting corners. You're just going through the motions. You're burnt out, but you keep showing up. This brings us to section 3, Howard Schultz and Starbucks.
This is a fascinating case of what the research calls operational reset.
So take us back to 2008. Howard Schultz had stepped down as CEO, but he returns. And he finds a company that is technically successful. They're opening stores everywhere, but something is wrong.
The company was suffering from drift. Financial success was masking a rot in the product. Schultz noticed that the Starbucks experience, the smell of the coffee, the interaction with the barista, had compromised.
By what?
By speed and efficiency, they were optimizing for the wrong things.
I remember reading about the breakfast sandwiches.
Ugh.
He hated the smell of the burnt cheese. He said it overpowered the aroma of the coffee.
Exactly. They had sacrificed the soul of the brand, the coffee aroma, for the efficiency of selling hot food. That is, drift. Prioritizing the metric over the craft.
And usually when a company faces this, they try to fix it while the machine keeps running. They send out a memo.
Yeah, Quality Initiative 2.0 or something.
Hey, everyone, try harder, make the coffee better. But
Yeah.
Schultz did something radical, something that I don't think a CEO would dare do today.
No way. It was February 26, 2008.
He closed the stores.
He closed 7,100 U.S. stores for 3.5 hours. Just shut them down in the middle of the afternoon.
I remember this. It was a huge news story. People were making jokes about caffeine withdrawal. The media was mocking them. The shareholders must have been furious.
Oh, they were. They lost millions of dollars in revenue for those few hours.
But the message it sent was invaluable. The source calls this recalibrate the ritual.
Recalibrate the ritual. Explain that.
The idea is that you cannot fix drift with the same tempo that created it. If you are running at 100 miles per hour and you are going in the wrong direction, you can't just turn the wheel. You have to slow down. You have to stop the machine.
You have to. And that is such a powerful concept for the listener. Pause the machine to restart the craft. Because I think when we feel ourselves drifting, when our work is getting sloppy, our instinct is to work more.
Right. To frantically try to catch up.
Which just accelerates the drift. You're just making bad widgets faster. You need a hard stop.
So how do we do a Starbucks shutdown in our own lives?
Yeah.
I can't just tell my boss, hey, I'm closing up shop for the afternoon to recalibrate. I'll get fired.
You can't close the store, maybe? But the source suggests a planned shutdown. You schedule a block of time, maybe 30 to 90 minutes, where you are not doing the work.
Okay, so what are you doing in that time?
You are resetting the mechanics of the work. This isn't time to catch up on email. This isn't time to make calls.
It's maintenance.
It's pure maintenance. It's time to clean your physical desk, reorganize your digital files, sharpen your pencils, review your goals. You are fixing the factory, not making the widgets.
And during this shutdown, you focus on what the source calls the core rep.
The core rep. I love this term.
Me too. What does it mean?
For Starbucks, the shutdown wasn't about cleaning the floors. It was about retraining every single barista on how to pour a perfect shot of espresso. That is their core rep.
Because everything else builds on that.
If the espresso is bad, the latte is bad, the macchiato is bad, everything fails.
So for a writer, maybe the core rep is just writing one true sentence. For a salesperson, maybe it's the opening question of a call.
Exactly. Identify the smallest unit of your work that represents quality. And spend your shutdown practicing that. Remind yourself what good feels like.
And the source also mentions using a storefront cue. Starbucks had the closed doors. They put signs up. What does that mean for us?
You need a visible signal that you are resetting. If you work in an office, maybe you put on noise-canceling headphones. Maybe you go to a different coffee shop to do your planning.
Create a boundary.
You need a physical boundary that says to your brain, I am not in production mode. I am in recalibration mode.
It's about being intentional. Drift happens when we're on autopilot. Recalibration turns the autopilot off.
Precisely.
Okay, we have one final case study. And this one is for when things are really dire. We aren't talking about drift. We aren't talking about a broken leg. We are talking about existential crisis.
Anne Mulcahy and Xerox.
This is 2001. Xerox, a company whose name is literally a verb for copying, is in a liquidity crisis.
They are on the verge of bankruptcy.
They have massive debt, $17 billion worth. There's an SEC investigation into accounting fraud. The stock dropped 15% on the very day Mulcahy is announced as CEO.
Talk about a welcome gift. And remember, she wasn't a finance bro. She came from HR and sales. The expert said she was the wrong pick.
She said she felt equal parts excitement and dread, which
That's
Honestly, sounds like a panic attack.
It probably was. The stakes here were survival. It wasn't about growth hacking or innovation at this stage. It was, will the cash last the year?
And the lesson here is secure the runway.
This is the most critical lesson for anyone in a deep hole. When you are in a crisis, whether it's financial, emotional, or physical burnout, motivation is not your bottleneck. Stability is.
You cannot hustle out of a runway problem. That line from the research, it hit me hard.
It's true. If you are sleeping 4 hours a night and you're stressed out of your mind, trying to add a complex new habit is doomed to fail. You don't have the runway.
You'll crash on takeoff.
If you try to take off on a crumbling runway, you crash.
So the sequence is survive, stabilize, rebuild.
Yes, in that order. Mulcahy didn't come in and announce a flashy new product line immediately. She didn't try to invent the 3D printer in 2001. She focused on cash flow.
Stopping the bleeding.
Exactly. She sold off pieces of the business. She cut costs. She focused on surviving today so there could be a tomorrow.
How does this apply to the individual? Because I think a lot of people feel like they are in a personal liquidity crisis. They have no energy. They have no time.
You have to do a runway audit. If you're struggling to get back on track, ask yourself, what is my limiting resource? Is it sleep? Is it time? Is it emotional bandwidth?
And the source talks about a cash flow equivalent. For people, energy is cash flow.
That's the perfect analogy. If you are bankrupt on energy, you can't buy a new habit. You have to cut obligations to buy oxygen for the routine.
So practically, that might mean saying no to a social event. It might mean ordering takeout instead of cooking so you can get to bed on time.
It might mean letting the house be messy for a week.
Exactly. You are ruthlessly cutting expenses, energy expenses, to secure the resources you need to function. The tactic here is the 2-week runway sprint.
This is where you say, for the next 14 days, my only goal is stabilization. I'm not trying to improve my mile time. I'm not trying to write my novel.
You're just trying to not crash.
You're just trying to wake up at the same time every day, eat 3 meals, and get 8 hours of sleep.
You're pouring concrete for the runway.
Yes, because once the runway is secure, then and only then can you take off. Mulcahy saved Xerox not by being a visionary inventor, but by being a stabilizer. She bought them the time to become great again.
It's interesting how all 4 of these stories share a common thread. None of them are about trying harder.
No, that's the myth of the comeback. We think it's about grit. But looking at these sources, it's really about strategy and, surprisingly, humility.
Let's recap this because there's a lot here, and I want to make sure the listener has a clear menu of options for whatever situation they're in.
Sure.
If you are mentally blocked or feeling that all or nothing shame, you look at Simone Biles.
The lesson: modify the expectations. Re-entry beats restart. Use the safe minimum to get back in the game without the pressure of perfection.
If you are physically broken or have completely lost the habit for a long time, you look at Alex Smith.
The lesson there is base-first re-entry. Ignore the ego that remembers your peak. Rebuild the boring basics, the base menu, before you try to be a hero. And remember the 2-day rule.
If you are showing up but the quality is slipping, if you're drifting, look at Howard Schultz.
The lesson: recalibrate the ritual, pause the machine, do a planned shutdown to fix the mechanics, and focus on the core rep.
And finally, if you are in a crisis, if the house is on fire, you look at Anne Mulcahy.
The lesson: secure the runway, stop chasing growth, audit your resources, cut obligations, and stabilize your energy cash flow first.
You know, what stands out to me is how gentle these strategies actually are. We're so used to the no pain, no gain mentality.
Well, yeah.
But these leaders, people at the absolute top of their fields, they didn't brute force it. They assessed the reality and adapted.
That's the key: radical acceptance. They dealt with reality as it was, not as they wished it to be. Biles admitted she couldn't twist. Smith admitted he couldn't walk. Schultz admitted the coffee tasted bad.
Mulcahy admitted they were out of money.
Right. Acceptance is the first step of the comeback.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
You can't navigate if you don't know where you are on the map. And you can't fix a problem you are too proud to acknowledge.
Well said.
So, for everyone listening, if you've fallen off the wagon recently, whether it's a diet, a project, or just your general sense of having it together, take a breath. The goal isn't a perfect street.
No. The goal is the ability to return without shame.
I want to leave you with a thought that came up while reading this. We live in a culture that fetishizes the grind. We think discipline is the ability to force yourself to do something hard.
Right. The David Goggins approach, which has its place, sure.
It has its place. But looking at these sources, maybe real discipline is actually the humility to start small again when you know you could do more.
That is profound. It takes more discipline to hold yourself back and build a foundation than it does to burn yourself out trying to be a hero on day one.
It's the discipline to be a beginner again,
Even when you're an expert.
especially when you're an expert. Well, that's it for this deep dive. We hope you found some tools here to help you navigate your own re-entry.
Just remember, safe minimums, base first, secure the runway.